Hi, my name is Coleman Rowberry. I was called to serve in the Côte d'Ivoire Abidjan East mission, speaking French. I am currently 18 years of age. My birthday is December 27th, 2002, so I'll be 19 in a few months. My report date is October 4th. I'm going to spend 2 weeks of home MTC, and then I will have 4 weeks where I go to the Provo MTC just down the street. As of right now, I am 6 foot and I think a fourth of an inch. I grew about half of an inch during my 3 semesters at college. I used to be 5'11" and 3/4, but now I'm 6 foot and 1/4. So very happy that I can actually say I'm 6 feet now. But with the shoes I have on now, I could probably say I'm a solid 6'1". So nowadays there are 2 full paragraphs before it says where you are called to serve and a language if you have one. So those I was reading the 2 paragraphs and I was just wondering where I was gonna go, just dying inside, because I mean this is gonna impact 2 years of your life and probably much more of your life after that. I had my hand over the part where it told you where you were called, but I did catch a glimpse of a C in Côte d'Ivoire, and I was trying to think of like states or countries with the letter C, but my mind was just blank. I couldn't think of anything. So anyway, I get down to where I was called, and I go, "You are called to serve in..." What?
As you serve with all your heart, mind, might, and strength, the Lord will lead you to those who will hear his message. You are assigned to labor in the Côte d'Ivoire Abidjan East mission. Ivory Coast, great. Where's that?
It's Africa.
Yes!
I don't know yet. You will prepare to preach the gospel in the French language. Our Heavenly Father will reward you for the goodness of your life. Greater blessings and more joy than you have yet experienced await you as you humbly and prayerfully serve the Lord in this labor of love among his children. We place our confidence in you and pray that the Lord will help you become an effective missionary. Yeah, I'm looking up where that is. I don't
Google search.
Okay. Google Maps.
Pulled up Google Maps real quick, and I was like, "Oh, it's West Africa. It's near Ghana." Okay. I could kind of wrap my head around that. But initial impression would probably be just shock, excitement. I'm also very scared because I'm going to be going to West Africa for 2 years, and I think it's okay to feel a little bit nervous about that. But yeah, mostly just excitement. All right, so from the research I've done, here's just a few things that I'll tell you about the Côte d'Ivoire Abidjan East mission. Maybe not the Abidjan East mission specifically, but just the Côte d'Ivoire mission. Because that's probably the first thing I can say. There are 3 missions in Côte d'Ivoire. There's the Abidjan East, the Abidjan West, and it's like a Yamoussoukro or something. I'm not quite sure how to say it. But there are 3 missions. I'm in the Abidjan East mission. The Côte d'Ivoire Abidjan East mission is an all-boys mission. There are no females allowed except for occasionally if a native female missionary wants to serve, they'll let them serve in Côte d'Ivoire. But besides that, it is an all-male mission because it is considered too dangerous. for females to serve missions there. So, I mean, that's kind of a good thing because I don't have to deal with all those pesky females out there, you know. That's definitely something I've looked into, just the crime rate and definitely how dangerous it is, which I've discovered it's not too dangerous. But for the most part, it's okay. You're not gonna, nothing too bad is gonna happen to you. I'm sure I'll get interesting things and interesting people, but I'll be okay for the most part. It is a very hot place. It's very close to the equator, so it rarely gets below 70 degrees Fahrenheit, but it also rarely gets above 90 degrees Fahrenheit for the whole year. So it is within that range the whole year, and the humidity is also not ideal. So I'm going to be sweating a lot on my mission. I'll be needing to drink a lot of water. There is a rainy season. I believe it's in the summer from like May to September or something like that. I do get to wear sandals or Crocs during the rainy season because, I mean, wearing these shoes in rain is just not going to turn out very well. So I do get to wear Crocs just like my older brother Tyler. So that'll be fun. There have been a few civil wars that have happened, but you wouldn't really recognize it now. It is much more peaceful now than it was a few years ago, which I think is how the gospel really was able to get established, because it's very hard to tell people that they need to, I guess, save their souls when they're very busy or occupied saving their earthly bodies. Like a lot of other countries, the police there are fairly corrupt. The missionary who came back from Cote d'Ivoire, which I was talking with a few weeks ago, he said that when he was an AP on the mission, he had to go to some bank for the mission, and he had a car. Anyway, they drove up to the bank, they parked it, and the police stole his car, which he didn't realize until he came out of the bank, and his companion was like, where did our car go? It was parked right here, and they had to like go around to a bunch of like car places and ask around to see if they could find it, until they eventually found out that the police actually stole it, and the church had to pay a bunch of money to get it back. And he told me other stories of how they'll specifically target you, like they'll pull you over, and then they'll take your driver's license or your registration or something, and then expect you to bribe them to get it back. Just like a lot of African countries and some of the more poor countries out there, they're corrupt, and they're much more about getting bribes and stuff than actually upholding the law. I've heard that they target white people. A lot of countries in Africa, whenever a white person comes, at least from my experience going to Tanzania and Madagascar, whenever there's a white person, they expect them to have money. So that's why they usually target them, because they think they can get some money out of them. Abidjan is the biggest city in West Africa, so it is still a third world country, but it's not quite as poor as some of the other places I've been. Madagascar was by far the poorest place I've ever seen. It was like, if there was like a fourth world country, that Madagascar would be it. It was just crazy. So in Malagasy, the word for like white person or foreigner is vaza. And all the little kids, when they saw us in Madagascar, they would go, vaza, vaza, vaza. So I got very used to being yelled at by kids and sometimes adults, just because we were white people walking down the street or something, and they'd be like, ah, vaza. So I'm expecting to be called foreigner, white person, or a variation of that on my mission. My older brother Tyler, when he went to Zambia for a few months as a missionary, he said that he was called white trash a lot by like everybody. They would just see him walking by and they would call him white trash for just some reason. So that'll be exciting. I'm not sure what they do in Cote d'Ivoire, but I'm expecting a lot of the little kids are the same everywhere in the world. They're hilarious. They love to play. Kids are great. So I'm expecting there to be a good amount of missionary kid interaction, at least when we're walking around. The food there is apparently extremely spicy. The missionary I was talking to said that it took him, I think he said 13 or 14 months to get used to how spicy everything was. He said it took him a solid 3 months to eat a meal where he did not tear up because of how spicy it was. So, not particularly excited for that. I'm trying to actually increase my spice tolerance. I'm eating a lot of not a lot, but I'm eating some Takis, and the other day I had a habanero pepper. I think that was the right one, but just to see how I would handle it. I've heard that the food there is a lot of rice and a lot of mystery meat, which I'm definitely fairly used to. In Madagascar, you had rice every single day, which got very, very old very fast. While I was opening my mission call and I got the whole Cote d'Ivoire debacle handled, and I was like, okay, this part of the area, that's where I'm going. Someone asked if I was speaking a language, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. I should probably go check. So I go down and I quickly read your assigned to the French language, or that's not the exact wording, but anyway, I was not expecting French, I gotta be honest, just because, I don't know, whenever I thought about a mission call, I always thought I was going to go to North America, South America, or Europe. For some reason, my mind was just it just kind of went to those places. So my prediction was the Philippines. I thought I was going to go to the Philippines on my mission, so I was going to speak Tagalog or, I don't know, something else. Or my father, in high school, you get to choose between a few different languages, and usually there's Spanish, French, German. I went to a school in the United Arab Emirates in the Middle East, so they had Arabic available and all that. And the advice that my father would give us, me and my siblings, was not to take French because it is a dying language, and to take Spanish instead because it would be much more useful, which is fair advice. Spanish is much more useful in North and South America, where we will most likely be spending most of our lives. It would help us the most. I understand that, right? So, I did not take French, but my father is currently 1 for 4 out of the 4 mission kids that he has, because my older brother Tyler, he went to Madagascar where they speak Malagasy and French. He did have to learn Malagasy, but French definitely would have helped. Lene went English speaking, so there was no trouble there. Sasha is learning Portuguese currently, which is a mix between Spanish and French or something. But French definitely would have helped her, and I'm speaking French. So, my favorite type of music. It's changed a little bit over the past year. I really like a cappella music. I do a lot of it myself, and I formed a cappella groups before, and I've done a lot with that. And I still love listening to a cappella music. I've gotten a little more into pop music recently, probably just because a lot of my friends were listening to it. So pop songs, sometimes, if they're good. Most pop songs I don't like, but the good ones I do. So there's that, and then, of course, a cappella music. Okay, so one of my favorite songs is called Fields and Pier by Avi Kaplan. Well, it's the Avriel and the Sequoias. It's a little group. But such a good song. Let's go. Love that song. So would highly recommend it. Fields and Pier, Avriel and the Sequoias. So good. Another one is Grow As We Go by Ben Platt.
You won't be the only one. I am unfinished, I've got so much left to learn. I don't know how this river runs.
Anyway, that is another amazing song. I would fully recommend it. Again, Grow As We Go by Ben Platt. So good. My favorite book, I have a few, just for different purposes. It would be Harry Potter, just when I want something for pure entertainment and I can just shut off my brain. I would probably read Harry Potter for that. If I want something that I like to think about a lot, there was this one book that I read my first semester at college. It was called The Shack. That's a really good book. I would recommend it. And then I recently read a book on Joseph Smith, which I found really interesting. So those are the three right now. My favorite drink would probably be root beer, specifically A&W root beer. It's so good. And my favorite food, probably just a hamburger. Just a quality, like a Five Guys, everything on it hamburger. Oh, so good. And my favorite sport, probably football. I enjoy football a lot. I was not able to play it in high school because they didn't have a football team at my school. And if I was going to play football, it was going to be, all of the games were on Friday, which was the Sabbath day over there. And I would have had to drive like 2 hours to practice every day, and it was bad. So I was not able to play in high school, but I feel like I would have if I had the opportunity. My beatboxing, okay, so I should probably tell the people how it happened. So from what I remember, I started making sounds when I was young, just because I was a very noisy child, and I just started making different sounds with my mouth and voice, and it just kind of very gradually turned into beatboxing. So I remember a few choice times, like one of the sounds that you use a lot is the inhale snare, which there's a few different variations, but this is the basic one. So that was in I remember I learned how to do this in 8th grade. I was just kind of experimenting when I learned how to do it, and I just practiced it a bunch, and I kind of honed it a little more. So then instead of just being able to be like, I was able to go, which helps a lot more. And then, of course, after that, I was able to develop more sounds like the kind of the hi-hat, like a. So after I learned all the basic sounds, pretty much, I was just able to play with it and get better and just improve. I never really practiced. I beatbox a lot when I'm bored, or when I'm just like walking through the halls, or when I'm like in the car or something like that. I'll just beatbox. What can I do? So I'll give you a little example, actually. So that's really fun. Post-mission Coleman, we'll see if you kept up on your beatboxing and if you're better and or a little bit worse than I am now, but we'll see how you are. So, future Coleman, I'm gonna just give you a few basics and we'll see how you do in like 2-ish years, you know? Ready? Let's see, let's try this one. Try that one, and then try this. And then we'll try one more, future Coleman. That was kind of long. I don't know if you'll be able to repeat that, but we'll see how you do. I'm excited for you, future Coleman. You're going to be beatboxing master. You're going to have children who can beatbox, and it'll be amazing. My future wife. Well, first off, they're going to be the smartest human alive because they married me, obviously. But this is what I think my future wife will be like. They're going to be very kind, very loving and understanding. They're going to be probably pretty goofy just because I have a really stupid sense of humor. Having a good sense of humor is always good. I don't think I'm going to have a lot of a culture shock. So I was able to live in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, which is in the Middle East. And because of that, I was able to travel to many places in the world. We, as a family, went to Tanzania for about 4 or 5 days during our first winter break there. And then I was able to spend about 2 months in Madagascar with my recently returned missionary brother, Tyler. He had just returned, and we, as a family, again, went there for 2 months and pretty much toured around Madagascar and met with the people he taught and that whole thing. So I've definitely been to like third world countries before, so I think it'll be much less of a culture shock than like some of the missionaries who are coming from America who have never been to that sort of situation. Here's what I think is going to happen. And of course, I'm going to watch this in a few years and when I'm actually married and be like, oh dang, I was so wrong. But here's my prediction. I'm going to come back from my mission. I'm going to get settled with normal life again. And then my guess is I'll be married about a year and a half after I get back. I'm going to say a year and a half to 2 years. All I have right now is un, deux, trois. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. And I know how to say j'aime le fromage, which means I like cheese. Oh, I can also say bonjour and au revoir or something, which I think is goodbye. But that's about it. So, yeah. So it'll be great. But hopefully I'll pick up the language quickly and I can start teaching as fast as I can. My guess, and I really have not done any research or asking around about this, specifically for English speakers learning French, but my guess is it'll take me about 3 or 4 months before I kind of get what's going on and I can start understanding a little bit and start following conversations. And then I think it'll take me 6, 7, or 8 months to start actually speaking and to start being fluent. Yeah, that's my guess. So I am a pretty social person, but I also like to be alone. Not a ton, but every once in a while. So I think having someone with me 24/7 will get slightly annoying. I'm sure I'll get used to it and it'll just be a part of life, but I think I'll miss just being able to be alone for a little while and just think. I think I'll also miss being able to do a bunch of like music projects. Like ever since COVID hit, March 2020, I've been making a ton of videos. Well, not a ton of videos, but just videos in my free time, just because I think it's fun and I think it's valuable. And I think it's I guess a good hobby to have, especially like videos like these where I'm getting interviewed. I think it'll be really valuable when I come back and I can see that. And I mean, many years down the road, my kids can look at this and be like, oh, this is what my dad was thinking right before his mission and at this point in his life. And I think that's very valuable. I'm not sure. There's probably a few people who I'll miss, but not a ton. Gotta be honest, when I left for college, of course I missed my family, right? But I wasn't like aching every day to see them type thing, you know? And so I think I'll I'll be okay for the most part. I don't think I've ever gotten homesick before. I should be okay in that department. Let's just say there is a female that I might miss a little bit. So COVID-19, for the people who do not know, is a stupid virus that made everyone stay home and be sad. But it didn't actually have a huge effect on my mission. I submitted my papers a few months ago. I got my call about 2 months ago. And since I'm going to Côte d'Ivoire, I will most likely get to go directly to my mission after the MTC. So I emailed the mission, and I pretty much just asked, like, hey, are people getting reassigned to U.S. missions for a little while for visas, or like, is any of that happening? And they got back to me a few days ago, and they said, as far as we know, missionaries are coming to Côte d'Ivoire directly after their MTC. It is not affecting me a ton. I mean, I'm sure it will, but it affected my older sister Sasha much more than me. She got her mission call, and literally the next day was like the whole COVID thing and everything shut down. So she got a call to Campinas, Brazil, and then she had to wait a year before she went on her mission. She's a missionary now, but she is reassigned to, I think, just outside Bakersfield, California, and she's just waiting for her visa. We're hoping and praying that she'll actually be able to go to Brazil, but we have no idea. It really just depends on how long the visa takes and how long everything happens. We definitely know of many missionaries who have been called somewhere foreign or somewhere out of this country, and then because of COVID, they can't come in, or they can't get their visas or something, so they're reassigned to a U.S. mission, and then stay there for the majority of their mission. Usually if you spend more than half of your mission in that place, they'll usually just permanently reassign you to that place, because, I mean, if I spent a year in Texas or something, and then I tried to go to Côte d'Ivoire and learn French, it would not be as good, because you just didn't have as much time to learn French, and it'd be much harder. So they definitely know a lot of people like that. But I'm just hoping that all of the delays in mission stuff happened with Sasha, and then I can just, like, give that all to her, and then I can just go. I believe that living outside of the house for 3 semesters at college definitely helped me prepare for college for a few reasons. Number one, when you leave the house, you have to kind of become more responsible. Of course, this isn't 100%, but for the most part, when you leave the house, you become more responsible just because you're responsible for yourself and you have to make adult decisions and that type of thing. So I definitely think I became more responsible through that. I needed to have some time by myself to figure out a few things, just about myself and for myself, I guess. I think it would have been much harder to kind of really find out who I am and what I like to do, what I don't like to do, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, if I was still with my family, just because I've always been with my family, and I would have just fallen into the same routine of being one of the siblings instead of trying to really know who I was. One of the big ones, though, is when you leave the house, you can't rely on your parents' testimony anymore, which is a big thing, I think, for most people leaving the house, who at least have grown up in the church. I always had parents that they would pretty much bring you to church every Sunday. That it was not an option. You went to church on Sunday, and you were taught everything you possibly needed to know about the gospel. But you could always just rely on your parents' testimony. But since I left for about 3 semesters, I really had to decide for myself, like, do I believe in this? Do I really think that this is the right thing? Do I really think that this church and this gospel is true? And so that definitely had an effect on me, and I had to find for myself a lot of very important questions. So yes, I think it has definitely helped prepare me for a mission. So I think the decision for me was pretty straightforward. It was pretty much, if this gospel is true, then I will serve a mission. That was the decision for me. I know as a priesthood holder, one of your responsibilities is to invite all to come to Christ. So that was pretty much it. It's either it's true and I go, or it's not true and I don't. So I had to find out whether it was true or not. So I spent a lot of time thinking and praying and reading and researching to figure out whether this church was true or not. And after a while, I had spiritual witnesses of many different things. And I came to a knowledge that this church was true. Specifically, that the Book of Mormon is true, that the prophet President Nelson is the right man. He's the right guy leading Jesus Christ Church. That Jesus died for my sins, just stuff like that. And after I came to that knowledge, I was like, okay, I'm going to serve a mission then. So I talked with my bishop and got my mission papers all sorted out, and that was most of it. I tried to make sure also that I wasn't going just for like societal reasons, I guess. Here in Utah specifically, there's a really big push for young men to serve missions, and it's definitely a kind of stigma if you don't. So I know there's quite a few missionaries who go just because they think that they have to, not that they want to. So I really tried to make sure that I wanted to go. I was not going to go because just my parents wanted me to. I really tried to figure out if I wanted to or not. I spent a month or two, and I was just pretty much making sure that I was going for the right reasons. I have grown up in the church my whole life. I was born into a family that was sealed together for many generations. The first one in my family, at least on the Rowberry side, was John Rowberry. He was converted in Hertfordshire, England, and came to America. And so my family has been part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for, I think, about 6 generations now, 7 generations, something like that. So I grew up in a family that was very well established in the church and taught me very well. And because of that, I have kind of, for most of my life at least, I have had the peace of mind of those really big questions like, why am I here? Where am I going? What's the purpose in life? I've always known the questions to those, which is not something most people can say. I probably didn't realize it for a lot of my life, but that granted me immense peace of mind. I mean, I know where I'm going. I know what the purpose is in life. And that's something I want to bring to other people. Once I came to a knowledge that this church and that this gospel was true, I pretty much was like, I need to tell everyone about this. Like, this is the truth. This is what people want to know. I know a lot of people are not going to accept it. A lot of people are not going to believe. A lot of people are going to try to dissuade me, I guess. But, I mean, I know that this is the truth. And that is the reason I am serving a mission. I want to bring other people to the knowledge so that they can have peace of mind here on earth, so that they can know where they're going, and that so they can ultimately become more like God, which is why we're here on this earth. I want to help people in their spiritual progression so that they can one day live with God again. I want to help bring families together I've seen the immense power of the atonement in my own life and in other people's lives, and it's just absolutely amazing what Jesus Christ's atonement can do, and I want to bring that to people who don't have that knowledge. So when we went to Madagascar, I was 16 and a half, I think, at that point. And I gotta say, our trip to Madagascar for the summer was not fun a whole lot of the time. Especially since at that point I was not exactly the most into the gospel, and I wasn't quite doing what I was supposed to be doing, but which was interesting for that trip because it was literally just a tour of my brother's mission, and we talked with people that he taught and was friends with, and that whole thing. So we were walking around, we were talking to different people. It was not a typical like tourist thing. We did do a few touristy things now and again, but for the most part we didn't. So at that time it was not a ton of fun, which really wasn't the intention, I think. I think the intention of that trip was for our whole family to learn, because I saw people in terrible conditions who were horribly poor and were happy, like much happier than some of my rich friends are, which is just amazing. And I saw the faith of these people, and the people in Madagascar, when they need to get sealed to their families, they have to go to the South Africa temple, which is a plane ride away, which, of course, since they are very, very poor, it is extremely hard, and they have to save up for years to be able to go. And, I mean, just the faith and the dedication of them were just amazing. But the point of the trip, I think, was to see how incredibly lucky as a family we are to come from what we came from, specifically from a family who knew the gospel, from a place where we could be free and where we could get a job to support our family, where we can, where we can exercise our agency the best that we ever have in history. That was probably the biggest things that I took away from that. At that time, I was not very good at staying positive, staying enthusiastic when things weren't quite going the way you wanted them to. But I've gotten much better at that. So I think a big strength that I will have in the mission field is pretty much staying positive, staying enthusiastic about the work, and noticing the little things. Hopefully, I've been working on that. I've been trying to notice the little things and see how much something really small can impact someone. Like, for example, just a choice smile, or just a small compliment when you're passing them in the hall or something can do a lot for someone's day or someone's week or someone's month, or, so I also think noticing the little things will be good. I think I'll be good at that. I think number one would be the language, of course, especially for the first few months as you're getting acquainted with it. I've also never been amazing with languages and learning them. So I think that'll definitely be a struggle. I sometimes get annoyed with people. And there are some people that I just don't quite get along with very well. Like, they can be great people, but sometimes their personalities just don't quite match, and it just doesn't really work out. So I think a struggle that I'm hoping not to have, but will probably have, like most missionaries, will be a companion that you don't quite see eye to eye with. I know myself, and I know I can get a little bit temperamental when someone isn't putting in like a full effort into something. So if they're like, if I get a mission companion that isn't all in or something, I know I can get a little bit frustrated and definitely very annoyed. So it is 1 Corinthians 10:13, and it says, "But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it." That's been one of my favorite verses for probably a good 2 or 3 years now. I think it's always just good to remember when you're tempted. It's like, you can get past this. God's not going to allow you to be tempted more than you can handle. So it pretty much just gives you hope. Like, you can do this. Keep going. My future self. Ooh, that's a fun one. Okay, there's a few things. I'll start off with a few serious ones. Oh, that's a good one. And then get into some other stuff. So, number one. So Coleman, you know this, but the devil, first off, he sucks. He's mean. But he tempts you before and after. That's something I didn't quite get until actually fairly recently. For example, before I was or became a deacon, teacher, priest for all three, the devil kind of likes to tempt you more if you're leading up to something big like becoming a deacon, teacher, priest, but then he also likes to tempt you more after. So I've definitely felt that currently before I go on a mission. Literally ever since I interviewed with my stake president and got my mission papers sent in, Satan's been like doubling, tripling his efforts to get me. It's quite annoying, actually. But so he's trying hard right now to get me. But just remember, he's gonna try hard to get you after your mission as well. He tempts before and after. So just be very careful. Don't be mindful of that. Don't be stupid. You'll be fine. Read your scriptures. Trust in God. Ooh, I'll tell you right now, as you are watching this video, future Coleman, go up to Sawyer. If he is taller than you, you get 3 free punches. I think he will be fine with that. Just 3 free, just, probably not in the face, though. That's a little harsh. Maybe in the shoulders, just 3 solid punches. You deserve it, because he's young and a twerp for being taller than you. But, I mean, he probably will be. Which is very sad, because it's not good. If Josh is taller than you, you get like 5 punches at least, because that is not acceptable. If Josh is taller than you, that means you're the shortest boy, and that is not acceptable. But I think he's about 5'10", 5'9" now, and he looks like he stopped growing. So hopefully he'll stop growing and you can not be the shortest boy. Oh, you are going to be an uncle. In like March 2022, you're going to be on your mission. You're not going to see this kid for like a year and a half, at least. So, I don't have any experience with being an uncle. You're going to have to tell me about it. But advice, be the good uncle. Be the favorite uncle. Don't be lame. You're going to be a good uncle. You're going to be a favorite uncle. I've advice for everyone, I guess, but including my future self. Literally just taking even a few minutes out of your time to talk to someone can show them how much you care, and really just opens doors to your relationship with them and your opportunity to bless their lives and for them to bless your lives. So with your future, I guess your future kids, your future in-laws, your future, I don't know, everybody, just remember to take a few minutes, maybe multiple minutes, maybe hours, I don't know. But just make sure they know you care, because that can really have an effect on a lot of people in a really good way. I definitely know the uncles and aunts that I'm closest with are literally just the ones, not the ones that are checking up on me every day, every week, every month, every year even. It's just like I'm at a family reunion and they say hi for like 10 minutes and we just talk about life. And that's like it. And they're just fun people in general. So just be good. You're going to be a great uncle. You're going to be the best uncle actually. Little kids love food, specifically sugary food. So make it hard for Tyler, Maddie, maybe Lene and Spencer by the time you get back. I don't know. But make it hard for them. Sugar them up at like 8, 9 p.m. and then give them back to the parents. Just a little advice for you. Your siblings might hate you, but it's okay.
Nobody you are blind, but when you don't look it back, I'm cracked.
To my kids, the gospel is the best thing that has ever happened to me. So do what you need to get a testimony and report back to your father. You know, I'm a pretty cool guy. But yeah, get a testimony. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. You are never going to be as cool or as handsome or as just absolutely amazing as your father and mother will be, but that's okay. To my wife, first off, I love you very much. Never met you yet, but it's okay. Actually, who knows? Maybe I have met my wife and I just don't know it yet. Who knows? But you married a cool guy. I'm pretty cool. I can be pretty dumb sometimes, so you might have to smack me every once in a while. My family's pretty cool. You'll probably like them. Hopefully, I like your family. I imagine I will. Our kids are going to be awesome. They're going to be like freaking football, basketball, soccer, I don't know, and all the sport stars out there, you know. Do you think teaching our kids French would be valuable? Maybe you know different language. I don't know. But as far as I know, any language taught like in school is usually pretty useful. There's a lot of African countries who speak French because French kind of invaded them a while back and it's still there. So I can go a lot of places with that. And then, of course, France and places in Europe I can probably get around. So it's pretty useful, I guess, but I'm not too sure. I still don't know any French, so we'll see. But do you think that would be useful? We should talk about that. I'm very curious on how I proposed to you. It'll be amazing, obviously, because it's us and we're awesome. But very curious on how that will eventually happen. I believe either the end of winter semester or the beginning of spring semester, 2021 at BYUI. And the Rexburg Temple had just opened up for baptisms. And I got an email. I was in the library, I don't know, studying or on a class or something. Actually, no, I think I was on a class. Yeah, and I got an email saying that you can now book appointments for going to the temple and doing baptisms. And I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, it was a Zoom class, and I just kind of left and did this as fast as I could, and I was able to get like 16 slots or something, and I invited a bunch of my friends. But anyway, this was the first time I'd been to the temple in about 2.5 years, and this was also the first time I had gone to the temple after diligently searching for the truth, and I guess finding out the truth. So anyway, so I was very excited. We had to do it at like 8 in the morning because that was one of the last spots. I literally got onto the website within 5 minutes of that email, but it was like booked. So anyway, I got an 8 a.m. one, and we walk in, and I give them my recommend And I'm like, literally as soon as I walked in, within about a minute, I could already feel the Spirit. I was like, whoa, like I can, and I told a few of my friends next to me, I was like, whoa, this is like, I can already feel it. And it gradually grew, and the Spirit was just there the whole time. And it was awesome. So for me, and I'm pretty sure for most people, the Spirit testifies of specific things. So it's not going to like, as you're reading the Book of Mormon or something, testify to you of something else. I mean, most everything is related to the Book of Mormon, so that's probably not a good instance. But it's not going to give you a bunch of things at once and tell you that they are true. So pretty much as I was feeling the Spirit that day in the temple, the Spirit pretty much said like what you were doing. So it was a few different things. One of them was, you're on the right track with, I guess, your life. That was one of them. Number 2 was, this is God's temple. Like this is Jesus Christ and God's house. And number 3 is, the work you are doing is real. It's important. It is needed. It's that type of thing. So of course, all related. Well, I guess the first one wasn't quite as related to it, but it testified to me specifically of the temple and of what was happening in my life, just because I hadn't been there for such a long time, and it was just an amazing feeling. And it was an hour appointment, which means we have to be in at 8 and we have to be out before 9, because there's just so many appointments, and because of COVID, you had so many rules and stuff. But anyway, as we walked out at about 9, all of us were just like, whoa, like, we needed that. It's been too long since we've been to the temple. We all just were like, oh, that was just so great. I wish we could do it more. And just, so that was recently a pretty spiritual experience I had. So I will share a few different times I got a testimony of specific things. I'm not going to share all of them, or most of them actually, because I don't want them to be on YouTube for everyone to see, because they're a little more sacred than that. But there are a few that I am willing to share. So, first and foremost, how I got my testimony of the Book of Mormon. That was a fun ordeal. And I haven't actually told this to pretty much anyone, so this will be exciting. I decided I was going to read the full Book of Mormon, like read it cover to cover, and then I was going to pray about it. And my expectation was that you hear all those stories about, like, they prayed and then they felt this like amazing spirit or something that filled their whole body and they knew it was true type thing. So I was like, all right, that's what's going to happen. So I read the whole Book of Mormon and I prayed about it, and I didn't receive an answer. At least I don't think I did. And I was kind of put down a little bit, and I was like, okay, what happened, pretty much. But that next morning, I woke up a little bit earlier than I usually do, and I was just kind of thinking and pondering, and the Spirit was pretty much just like, you don't know how to recognize the Spirit. You don't know how to recognize when God is speaking to you. And that's when I was like, oh, okay. I was like, that's important, I guess. So it took me 2 weeks after that to finally gain a spiritual confirmation that the Book of Mormon was true. It was on 2 instances. It was not like after the fact, or like it was not you read the Book of Mormon and then you pray about it after and you get it after. It was while I was reading the Book of Mormon, which is very typical for me. I've learned that the way I receive spiritual confirmations is I usually go through something. Like, for example, my patriarchal blessing. I got my patriarchal blessing, and I don't remember really receiving a spiritual witness or anything that like it was true and it was from God type thing until afterwards. I would read it and reread it and study it and type thing, and then the Spirit came and testified to me that these words were from God and that they would help me. But so that's kind of the way I've received a lot of my testimony and different things. So anyway, about 2 weeks after that experience, I was just reading the Book of Mormon, and the Spirit just slowly crept in, and that day it testified to me of the truthfulness of this book. And I gotta admit, I was a little... So, the Spirit and the Holy Ghost are very subtle. They're things you have to... You gotta search for, or else you could not recognize it in the hustle of the day. So, that first experience, I was like 95% sure it was the Spirit. And I was pretty sure, but I was like, let's get another one, just to like, because I knew how, I mean, having that testimony of the Book of Mormon is like one of the really big things. It's the keystone of our religion, as many prophets and apostles have taught. So I kind of wanted to like make sure, you know. So I think it was like 2-3 days later, I was reading the Book of Mormon again, and the same thing happened. The Spirit crept in, and it testified to me of the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. And then that was when I was like, okay, awesome. Like, Book of Mormon's true. Awesome. I was like, dang, if the Book of Mormon's true, that means like, well, first off, it means I'm going on a mission. It means like so many different things. It means this is true, it means this is true, it means like, and I mean, I became much happier that day, I think, because I knew, I have mentioned earlier that I've already known the questions to the the answers to the big questions in life, but that's when I like for sure knew for myself. And I just became happier, I think. This was also amidst a time I was repenting of some pretty dumb stuff I was doing. So just, yeah, that whole experience was awesome and brought me closer to God. And, but yeah, that's how I received a testimony of the Book of Mormon. There's just one more I want to share, which is of the prophet. So the prophet, as of right now, is President Russell M. Nelson. And so I had interviewed with my bishop to, I guess, I forget if it's to begin my mission papers or to submit my mission papers. I forgot. But anyway, in the interview, he was asking me all the interview questions and everything, and he asked me if I had a testimony in the current prophet, and I said yes. And he inquired a little bit more about that, and I kind of thought about it and realized I hadn't sought for a spiritual confirmation specifically that he was the prophet in this day. I knew that prophets, Joseph Smith and all the prophets preceding him, were like true prophets of God, but he wanted me to get a spiritual confirmation that President Nelson, Russell M. Nelson, is the true prophet of our day. And of course I was like, that's a good idea. I probably should have done that before. But anyway, I was expecting it to take like a week or two, because that's usually how long it takes for me, at least. Well, it really depends, but I was expecting it to take longer than it did. That night I was listening to a few talks that he gave, and went and prayed in my room to God to receive a testimony that Russell M. Nelson was the true prophet. And I was listening to a talk that he gave, and the Spirit slowly crept in again, except this time it was a little bit more forceful than the one I had with the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon was a lot more subtle. It did like slowly creep in, just like the Book of Mormon, but it was as if the Spirit was just like, yes, 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 it's true, yes, 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 type thing. And it stayed for a really long time. I think I was going to like a game night with some of my friends that night, So I had that spiritual confirmation, and I sat there for a little while, and I was like, okay, the prophet's true man of God. He speaks with God, and he's the chosen guy, pretty much. I was like, okay, great. And I was walking to my friend's house, and the Spirit just stayed for a really long time, longer than I'm used to with these types of experiences. And I think that was like a second witness. It was just like you had that witness of the prophet, but then the Spirit just stayed, because it was literally, it was as if the Spirit was like, yes, this is true. Yes, 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 he's the prophet. Yes, 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 yes. So that was a really cool experience, and that's how I gained a testimony of the prophet. And so he's a cool guy. You should check him out if you haven't already. He's a prophet of God. I know that. I think it only appropriate to end with my testimony. So, first and foremost, I know that the Book of Mormon is true. For anyone watching this that doesn't quite know how to get a testimony of something, it's explained in the ending chapter of Moroni in the Book of Mormon, at least specifically for the Book of Mormon, which is read and ponder these words and pray to God about it, and pray with a sincere intent to see if these words are true, and if they are true, to act upon it and to change whatever you need in your life, and type thing. And the Holy Ghost, the Spirit of God, is what really testifies to you of truth. That's how you know if something is true, if the Spirit testifies to you of it. So that's how I know that the Book of Mormon is true, because the Spirit testified to me of it. I know that the president of the church right now, the prophet Russell M. Nelson, is the true prophet of God, just like Moses, just like Joseph Smith, just like Noah was back in his day. It's the same. I know that Jesus suffered in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I know that he died for my sins so that I could live with God again in heaven. I know that Joseph Smith was a prophet. I know that if we properly use our agency to choose the right and to help others and to do our best to become more like God, that we can live with God again, and that we can live in eternal happiness. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.